Hello, dear ones. How are you doing with unhooking from the fear, from the matrix, from the fear feeding you all day long? I'm curious if you're listening to my YouTubes, if you are trying to implement it in your life and really make it your own experience. And then it's not just something you listen to and say, oh, that was nice or whatever. But this, what I'm sharing, and I find it really important. And maybe that's just because this is my own process of really liberating myself from all that nonsense that we have been, sucked into for so long. So that's why I do want to emphasize, if you make this a real practice and really spend some time every day noticing how often is fear trying to get your attention. And it is shocking and eye-opening when you really realize that what I shared the other day, that almost everything we do think, feel it. There is an element of fear in there, even though you may not experience it as fear. You may experience it as a workaholic or striving, or hiding, or making yourself invisible in a way where you're not thinking, oh, I'm afraid to be seen, or I'm afraid that I won't have enough money. You might just put it in some context that, you really love this and you want to do this. And so there might be a positive feeling of energy behind that, which may be true or not. But I want to just, invite you to look deeper. And when we ask ourselves the question, what is it that you really want? What is the outcome you're hoping for when you strive, work 80 hours a week, whatever it is, or hide, or don't speak your truth? Many times we are so identified in that identity that is afraid. And it's like we have built this whole character that we have completely forgotten about that it's a character. We really think it's us. And this is the one that is just living a life completely disconnected from our true self, from our soul connection. This character is just running amok, basically, because it's the fear of the matrix that keeps slipping into the background, into the mind, and fills it with, limiting beliefs, which often, if not always, drive us to try and overcome those beliefs, mostly unconsciously. I would bet that most people who are working whatever 80 hours a week, and they may complain about it, or they may just be on all kind of drugs or whatever to be able to maintain that momentum, that they're not aware that what is making them do that. And this is a really important step. So that's why I want to invite you to just take a look, be curious about when you find yourself doing something or answering to something. Um, be curious and see what what is responding in you, what part of you is engaging in that. And then the next important question is, what are you hoping to get or gain from working 80 hours a week, from hiding? So when you ask yourself that question, take time to listen, because that's where you find these subtle hypnotic suggestions that just like inform you of what you should do in order to be successful, feel safe, be loved, because it all comes down to that. And I think I have shared that before, like when I have new clients setting up a time with me for a self-discovery session, which is just like 30 minutes where we just connect. And then I want to learn what it is that they specifically are longing for, what they want, what they're hoping to get out of working with me. So the question is often, so what brings you here? What do you want? What do you want to experience? And then I ask deeper. So, like, if you have that, what would that give you? And if you had that, what would that do for you? And most people, if not all, end up in a sense of, I just want to be at peace. I just want to be myself. Big one. I just want to be myself. And nobody's themselves. When you work 80 hours a week or whatever, whatever your thing is, this is not what you want, and it's not giving you what you really want. And that's why it's so important to see what it is that is driving us, but we're moving in the wrong direction. So if you want peace, what helps you feel peace? Maybe some drugs. I don't know. It's probably not the best way. But the drugs, if you take drugs to feel more peace, not to be as anxious, um, there is something underneath that has not been met. And these pills are just covering something. And as long as we live, so far away from ourselves that we are so unhappy, and then we put some medication and pills and whatever not on top of it, numbs us out, takes us further away. Unless it's maybe there's a way, you can use it more consciously where it can actually help you slow down enough so you can notice what's underneath. But we all need to go to these places and see what is it that comes up in us. What is it in us that engages with these fear tactics? And what would happen if you stopped engaging? What would happen if you stopped engaging with fear? I think I shared that the other day too, that what I realized a while ago is that, it can be very scary to not be afraid because it's so unfamiliar. It can feel irresponsible. People will expect you to be afraid when everybody else is afraid. So if you walk around peacefully amongst people who are, filled with fear, that can feel like a threat to them and to you too, probably. So there is a tendency to just keep being pulled in by the fear and not face it head on. I don't know if I can say it more clearly. I'm sure I can next time, but for now it feels like this is what I want to just share with you today. And I hope that you take this seriously and make it so conscious what is it in you that reacts, engages with fear. And then we need to meet that part in ourselves. And that's where we can start transforming. The fear is probably going to keep going as long as the matrix is here, the false matrix. But our rising up to meet it, that we can change. And as you know, probably by now for sure, is that when we go up and meet the matrix, with our emotions, we are feeding the matrix. We're basically just keeping it alive. And I don't know if I can say this too many times because it is so opposite of what we are unconsciously programmed to. So sometimes it takes a long time for me too, to hear something And then you go, oh, and then it's gone, and then maybe next day you hear it again. It's like, oh yeah, I remember she said that or he said that. And then it's gone, right? So it takes time to move through all these layers where suddenly you go like, oh, now I get it. And that's when transformation can happen because you're taking it into your body, into your felt sense, and now you can be present with it so you can start letting it go and let it dissolve. All right, my friends, I have my little kitty. Hey, come on. I don't know if you can hear her. Anyway, thank you so much. And please comment and let me know how this is for you. Have a beautiful day.